get going here in a second. We'll have some people who straggle in usually. So those of you that don't know me, my name is Mike Freeman. I'm president of the Greater Round Rock West Neighborhood Association. I was sentenced to that 10 years ago. And been there ever since. So I don't know how much, I can't even get off on parole on good behavior. I'm going to a couple of quick notes. I've got Rick Balicki, right? With a parent from Round Rock High School about a safety issue for about 2 minutes, then we'll get into our forum. But real quick, our forum, we're going to give each candidate 8 minutes. And then we're going to allow questions from the neighbors. I don't see too many strangers here, but the one rule we did make is we're not going to let the candidates question each other. Because what we want to hear from each candidate is why they should be elected to the position, not why the other guy shouldn't, or lady shouldn't, okay? We want to hear what benefits they bring to the table and why they feel they're best qualified for the position. So, and I'm going to wave a 1 minute flag at them back there and then a 15-second, and then we'll stop and then go and ask a few questions. Probably limit the questions to 3 to 5 minutes tops, and then we'll go on to the next candidate. Everybody drew as they came in, so we will have an order. You guys that are speaking, if you'd like to ask, if you kind of stand in this area right here, don't wander too far off to the sides. Because we are videotaping, the tape will be available to the highest bidder after the meeting. So it's one of our fundraisers. No, I'm just kidding. We do post a video for those that couldn't make it to our meeting. We email it out to our email database and post it on our website. And no editing other than Don's magic work of putting subtitles and names and stuff on it that he does. So I don't think, is there any quick questions, neighborhood concerns that I need to address first? Yes, sir.
Today, my wife called me. We live at Quanah Drive in Messick Loop, right in the corner there.
Yep.
And there was 4 or 5 squad cars there,
I have no
police
clue.
everywhere.
I have no clue.
They had the whole street shut down. There was helicopters flying.
I have no clue. It's too soon for that. And here, let me share with you what happens, okay? Because this happens, you know, every couple of weeks. We get something like that happens. What I can assure you of is if there's a danger to the neighborhood, to the neighbors, if there's a direct danger, the police will let us know immediately. I will get a call. It'll get posted on our Facebook page. It's unfortunately because of Facebook, anytime more than one police car is together in the neighborhood, there's a crisis going on and everybody's on Facebook saying, you know.
Facebook quiet on this. There were 5 squad cars.
Well, there was something else going on up by Chisholm Trail. Andy Bond was videotaping something. He lives 3 houses down from Chisholm Trail, and there were 3 or 4 cop cars. Had some guy on his knees down there and stuff. So I wish we could have instantaneous news on what's going on there and what's happened. But I have had many conversations with Round Rock Police, and I have all their cell numbers, the chief's cell number, and the city manager's cell number. I have all of that. If there's any danger, immediate danger to the neighborhood, they will let us know immediately. We will do whatever they ask us to do, lock it down, stay indoors.
My wife went outside and she was told, get in the house
How do you
now.
Why did you do that? There's 18 cop cars out there, bullets flying. I think I want to go outside. I have no clue.
And I had to go home to protect her from the cops.
Anyway, so I apologize. If we find out what that is, we generally don't even ever hear about it because most of the time, my wife and I always joke about it, is when we see 2 Round Rock police cars with somebody pulled over, we go, oh crap, somebody's inspection sticker must have expired. Okay? Because they are so proactive about taking care of us. So,
They even had the helicopter.
what's that?
They even had the helicopter out.
Yeah, I know, we get those every now and then too. I don't know the answer to that.
Issues, right?
Anything else? Okay? Rick, you want to come up and we'll give you a couple of minutes and then we'll start our...
I promise, I won't take up your time. I crashed your party, but Mike didn't bring cookies like the last open house I met him at. Like Mike said, mine's Rick Balicki. I'm a parent volunteer at Round Rock High School, and I'm on the safety committee. And what we're doing is trying to get input from the community on different issues or concerns around the high school as far as safety. Mike has my information and Mr. Reeves, the assistant principal's information. Anything, any ideas we're looking for. Send them to Mike, he'll funnel them to us, so that way we meet at least once a month And right now, our biggest concerns is traffic patterns. So,
To be clear, you're speaking about issues that deal with the safety of the kids.
safety of the kids, safety of the neighborhood
Got it.
around the high school.
Okay.
So it's, a lot of issues have come up in the world, but we're focusing on what's gonna happen in our school and make it better and make it safer. But like I said, right now, we're focusing on traffic patterns and trying to develop different schemes and different plans, even with Round Rock Christian across the street. And they're actually gonna be working with the city, the county, and everybody else that we can just to get traffic flow better around the high school. Like I said, any ideas, any suggestions, send them to Mike, he'll send them our way, and hopefully we can make things a little bit smoother, a little bit better around there.
They're taking all their driver's licenses away from the kids. They wouldn't
I have a 16-year-old, that's not gonna happen. Thank you, Mike, appreciate that.
No problem, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we have,
Driver's license until 20.
we have about 1,500 homes in the Round Rock West neighborhood, okay? Anybody want to guess how many registered voters there are in Round Rock West? Guess.
650.
Somebody say what?
2,000.
300.
3,000 change. I think Karen, of course, she should know, you better.
I should know.
3,000 and change registered voters in this neighborhood. I'm not even gonna tell you how many came out and voted last week, okay? Because it's embarrassing. It is embarrassing how many people in this neighborhood did not vote. We used to be the highest turnout precinct in the city of Round Rock, okay? And I don't know what the change has been over the past 2 or 3 elections, but our turnout has been going like this. And it certainly isn't because you don't know it's election day, because I send out about 8 emails reminding you that there's voting going on, and Don puts out about 50 signs reminding you that voting is going on. So please share with your neighbors, especially this election. These are the most important ones. The other ones are statewide, countywide, they are important, but these are the ones, this is the city of Round Rock. And right now, the Upper Brushy Creek WCID is especially important to our neighborhood because we talked about the dams. And we're trying to get a couple more dams built to take our neighborhood out of the floodplain. So that is very important. I mean, most of you don't live in a floodplain, but those of you that do, it's a concern. And if nothing's done, it can long-term affect the value of our neighborhood. So 2 very important elections. I encourage you to listen to what the candidates have to say tonight, and please vote. Takes you 15 minutes out of your day to go vote, I promise. So,
Just a point,
what?
when you send out the information about places to vote, you don't usually include the sleep-in on the I-35 frontage road.
The which? The
The
sleep-in?
sleep-in, which is probably.
Has that been an early voting place?
That's probably, no, not early, but election
Because I
day.
send out a link from the county's website for
Yeah,
election
it's
day
election
usually.
day.
I mentioned Baca Center because for us in the neighborhood, that's the easiest to get to. Yes, I know they vote, somebody chewed me out the other day because they're voting at Round Rock High School,
But
but I'm
not-
sorry, trying to
especially
get in
not
and out of
now.
that place is.
But
We were
it's
just
not as
discussing.
easy for us now that you can't go straight across over to the Baca
Right.
Center, and the sleep-in is just take
Well,
a right on the.
to answer that question,
Right.
that section of McNeil is about to be opened back up.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, they're done with the infrastructure, construction down around,
Anyway, it's just a close one. for
those
us,
Brown
the
Street and so
sleep-in.
forth.
And I work there, so.
No, but then it'll be open right back down there again. And then, because all the construction's gonna be at the other end of McNeil where they're taking it on down to Burnett Road, so.
Uh-huh.
Not Austin Burnett, but Burnett and Round Rock.
Right.
So please, listen tonight and go vote. Want to welcome former Mayor Culpepper join us tonight. Good to have you here. And our first, we're gonna go in order of the places, place 3. And Cam Scott got the lucky draw to lead us off, so we're gonna let him start the parade.
Well, I'd like to first thank you all for the invitation and for being here tonight. I think it's so important for citizens to be engaged in our democratic process, and so thank you for being here and investing in your community with your time. Again, my name is Cam Scott. I'm running for Round Rock City Council Place 3, and I'm running because we have 3 young kids. We have a long-term interest in the future of this community, and I want to make sure that Round Rock will continue to be a safe and vibrant place to live, work, and play. And I also want to be a bridge builder to make sure that all of Round Rock feels welcome and engaged and supported, and that we have a cohesive community going forward as we grow. I've lived in Round Rock for nearly 11 years, and my first experience with Round Rock actually goes back to 1994 when I became a student at Southwestern University. I moved here in '94, and Round Rock was where we came to eat out and to go to the movies. And the old La Margarita restaurant was one of our favorites. That's where I had my graduation dinner. So that was the same year that Dell moved to Round Rock, and the population was about 45,000. So I've seen a lot of change since then. In my 20s, I went off to seminary, became an ordained minister, and served as a youth minister and then a co-pastor. I went and did a stint in D.C. and got to work on Capitol Hill while also co-pastoring a small church there. And then when I moved back to Texas, I chose Round Rock. This is where I bought my first home. This is where I met my wife. This is where we bought our second home, when the first home we outgrew. And this is where we're raising our kids. Heather and I met at a church here, and we love it here. Round Rock is a wonderful city. It makes all these lists we were just talking about. It's on one of the lists for the top place to retire. It's on one of the top lists for best place to raise a family, best place to start a business. By almost every objective measure, Round Rock is a well-managed city. And so there's not a lot that I say we need to change about the way that we're going. In fact, I've played a small part in some of the successes that have happened in the last few years. I've been close to the action as a member from about 2008 to 2012 of the Community Development Advisory Commission, which I chaired for 2 years. And then I served for 5.5 years on the Round Rock Transportation and Economic Development Board, which is a board that, by and large, supports the growth of increasing road capacity in the community. That commission is led by the mayor, who serves as president of the board. There are 2 city council members that sit on there and 4 citizens. I've been on that for 5.5 years and was appointed by then Mayor McGraw as vice president for the last 2 years. And so it was a wealth of knowledge, a lifetime education being on that board. And I understand the challenges with congestion here, and that's our top concern that I hear about from citizens. And it's a concern that I've been working on. I've voted on countless road projects that are in the works now, and I'll continue to work on that issue as a city council member. I've also supported a number of economic development projects that are bringing strength to our economy, and those are important because they help reduce pressure on our property taxes. And one of the reasons we like living here is because Round Rock has one of the lowest city property taxes in the area, and I want to work to keep it that way. So I've been close to the action. I can bring that experience to the city council, but I also bring a fresh perspective. For the last 13 years, I've worked for the American Cancer Society as a government relations director, representing the interests of cancer patients and their families, and working to advance the fight against cancer through nonpartisan public policy initiatives. And so the city council is a nonpartisan entity, and I think that my experience of being able to build consensus around an issue, because cancer is not a partisan issue. Republicans get cancer, Democrats get cancer, so do libertarians and everybody else. And I've been able to work with volunteers of all stripes, with lawmakers of all stripes, to get some real good things accomplished. And I think that would be a valuable experience to bring to the council, as well as nonprofit experience in general, because managing donor dollars is a lot like managing city dollars. It's other people's money, and we have to use it conservatively to get the mission accomplished that we're set out to do. And so I think that I bring a valuable perspective, and I'd be the only council member who has that nonprofit professional experience on the council. I think it would be valuable to have. So my key priorities: number one, I want to listen, and listen first. I think it's important for the city council members to do that first, because that's our main job. And based on what I've heard so far, we've got to reduce traffic congestion, which is a challenge, but we have to keep at it. We've got to keep Round Rock safe for our kids, for all the kids, for our entire community. I want to make sure that our police and fire have the resources that they need, which is one of the reasons I made it a priority to vote for the 2013 bond initiative, to make sure we had a couple more fire stations and to build a new police and fire training center. Also, we need to, again, maintain a strong, healthy, balanced economy to reduce pressure on property taxes and make sure we have good paying jobs. And I want to continue to enhance our quality of life. As we grow, we've got to preserve green space to make sure that we still have places to go and find respite in our busy lives. We have to make sure that I'd love to see some community gathering spaces developed around Brushy Creek to really make that a central feature of our community. And I'm really excited about the Nutty Brown Cafe and Amphitheater coming to Round Rock, and I want to make sure that goes smoothly because that'll be a fun thing to have here. So all of those are important to me. And then as I said, as we grow, diversity can bring its challenges, but it is also something that brings some wonderful opportunities. And I want to be a bridge builder. Real community is about more than just building roads and buildings. It's also about the relationships that we have. And I want to tend to the heart and soul of our community and make sure that we move together as a community in the midst of this world that's becoming more and more divisive and challenging. And so I want to live in a community with my family where we can be community, even across our differences, where we can acknowledge our differences and come together and be community, and stronger for it because we respect each other. So that's my spiel. I'm ready to work. I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and work for you, for all of Round Rock, and I would love to have your support for the city council election. Again, thank you.
Y'all have any questions for Cam? Anybody? Not all at once now. Take your turn, be patient. Okay. Thank you, Cam. All right, Matt Baker is up next for place 3. Yes, sir. Those are the 2 candidates for place 3. We only have 2 candidates for each of those 2 places.
Well, thank you. My name is Matt Baker. Just a brief introduction about myself. I am married to a wife, Natasha, with 3 boys, ages 6, 4, and 2. My house is a war every night. They like lightsabers, so when I come in, the first thing I do is get whacked 3 times from different directions. They've kind of learned how to sabotage me now. They'll come in around the corner and one will get me over looking this way and tell me to look this way, and this one will whack me. So they're smart. That's what I deal with every night. My wife is smarter than me. She's a graduate of Notre Dame. I graduated from Texas A&M. All right, a couple there. Last speech I got 1, so I'm going to have to change that up a little bit. So I'm an Aggie. We're both native Texans, my wife and I. I was born in the Dallas area, and I've lived in the Austin area since 1993 and moved to Round Rock 6 years ago. I'm also a graduate of the Governor's Executive Management Development Team. I was sent through that when I was an engineer with the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, so I'll talk a little bit about my career background. When I was at A&M, I started working for the Ag Extension Service, so I started there young. I was at 19 years old. I went straight to the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality out of college. And so I hit my rule of 80 for retirement when I was at the age of 48. I also bought 3 years. My wife was a realtor. Her career was going well. When we started having children, when we started having children, I went and got my license because we didn't know what to do with all her clients because she'd been a full-time realtor for a number of years. And so I went and got in high school and got my license. Started taking care of her clients, so working double duty while she was dealing with the newborns. And I maintained that license, and so when I retired last year, I went into real estate full-time. We both worked for Keller Williams. Keller Williams was a great company to us, but at the end of the day, they were not of value to us anymore. And so we started our own firm, Baker Realty, and that's what we manage now as our own small business, and we have one administrative assistant. While all that was going on, I'm not somebody that likes to sit still. I certainly like to have fun, but I like to do constructive things. And when I was at A&M, I saw this ad in the newspaper that said, "Hey, Bryan PD is hiring part-time police officers." That'd be fun. What do they do? Go put cattle. What do they do in Bryan, Texas? They put cats and dogs off the street, whatever they might help them. They fix a flat tire. So I got accepted. Went to Knight Academy and became a police officer. I actually finished academy early, so I had to wait a couple weeks and got sworn in on my 21st birthday. So I didn't have my uniform yet. My first night on patrol in Bryan PD, people will not probably believe this, but we went on a drug raid. I was like, wow, my adrenaline was pumping. Patted down a guy, found crack cocaine. So I had to do a report on crack cocaine. We got a call from there to go to a burglary in progress. I opened the garage door at gunpoint, and there was a guy, an estranged husband, trying to get to his wife. And then we went to a shooting where a gentleman was shot twice in the chest, all on the first night of patrol in Bryan, Texas. I went home. I was like, what did I get myself into? But I continued it and realized that there's 2 things I love about law enforcement. I love putting bad people in jail, and I love helping people that are in need. And so I've done that the rest of my life. I got hired to go full-time with Bryan PD the same day that the TCQ called me and offered me an engineering job. So I was sitting there thinking, what do I want to do with my life? Shift work or not shift work? Raising a family, and I felt that shift work would be a little bit harder to deal with when I have a family. So I moved my commission to Travis County, where it still stands today. Within 2 years of being at Travis County, I was promoted to sergeant. I was coordinator of the unit. I took over their part-time unit. I built it up, and at the end of the day, I was promoted to captain and was supervising almost 45 sworn deputies. So I personally have experience doing patrol. I personally have more experience managing law enforcement officers than most chiefs, city police chiefs in the state of Texas. Most of these small towns have 4, 5, 10, 20. I supervise directly 45 deputies. So that's my law enforcement background. I also served on Planning and Zoning Commission for the City of Round Rock. I recently had to resign as the vice chair of Planning and Zoning to run for this office. But I've been there and certainly been involved in the planning of the city and looking at the zoning of the city. And so I have some experience there looking at how the city should grow and the familiarity with the master plan of the city, and certainly have some input that I want to take to the city from that. The last thing I'll touch on as far as experience, something that's close to me, is nonprofit work. My wife and I feel deeply that if God provides to you, that you should pass that on. And so we were both involved in a variety of nonprofits, some that we have a closer passion with than others, but we certainly like to support all of them. I'm personally in chair of Senior Access, which is a group that provides free rides to seniors from their home so they can stay at home longer even though they can't drive any longer. So we help them get to their doctor's visits, we help them go grocery shopping. We also provide people to go to their houses and do small repairs. So if you have a small leak or something like that, we'll send people over to repair that. My wife's active with the Backpack Coalition, which feeds children in Round Rock that don't have food to eat on weekends, and I help her do that job as well. And I'm also involved with my Rotary, where I'm a board member, and the Rotary obviously serves a number of roles in the city. If you are familiar with the Rotary, each year we serve different groups. The Special Olympics is a big one. Trying to eradicate polio worldwide is a big part of the Rotary. And then we also just pick different groups each year that we try to provide support for. My wife and I are also sponsors of the Play for All Park. If you are familiar with that park, it's a great idea that I love as a fiscal conservative, where the city, nonprofits, and businesses came together as 3 groups, and the private the businesses were allowed to do sponsorships and provide the money to build this amazing park. And if you go out there, you'll actually tear up because you'll see children that have never played on a park before being able to play. Kids in wheelchairs can go up on a chair, on a swing made for wheelchairs, and actually swing for the first time. That's really cool and will tear at your heart. And so we were led to be part of a sponsor for that, and we love to publicize that park. But that model, I think, is just amazing because it doesn't take all tax dollars. It takes private industry money and merges it with government land and with a nonprofit to make something like that work. And I think that model can work for a lot of things. So that's my background in nonprofits, and we love supporting them. My priorities for Round Rock, I'll mention a couple. To me, Round Rock, if you see it in the news and you read the blogs, Round Rock rates in so many things nationally is one of the top cities in the nation. And so, in my opinion, Round Rock City Council is not a training ground. We don't need people going there that need to be trained on management, people that need to be trained to lead. And so why I think it's important and why I'm running is I have a lot of experience in management. I was a division director in 3 different divisions at the TCEQ. I supervised hundreds of people. I have personally managed police officers more than most police chiefs in the state of Texas. I have the hands-on training to do management. I also am a big believer in proper planning, not only short-term, but long-term. So we need to be planning now for what Round Rock's going to look like in 20 years. We need to be looking at clean water availability now. I know dam safety is an issue in this area. We need to be looking now how to get that money together to make sure dams are properly maintained and built. Now, if we wait till the end, construction costs go up and we have to do more money quicker than if we start now and plan ahead. So I'm big on planning. I'm big on surrounding myself with smart people to give me good advice. So that's why I'm running for city council. My name again is Matt Baker. I ask you to check out my website. It's votemattbaker.com, and I would really love your vote and support in May. So thank you.
Any questions for Matt? I can see this is going to be a busy night.
That's a question.
Okay. Well,
All right.
thank you, Matt. Next up is place 5, and to lead us off in place 5 is our current incumbent, Councilman Rick Basin.
Well, my name is Rick Basie, and I'm currently the Place 5 representative on the Round Rock City Council, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and thank you all for coming out and visiting with us for a little bit. Just to give you a little background about who I am, so we moved to, my wife and I moved to Round Rock in '96, and we've been married for 21 years. We have 2 boys, one's a senior and one is a freshman in high school, and you know, after having worked in a lot of big businesses, doing some telecom stuff for a long time, I was fortunate enough to be able to join a family business about 12, 14 years ago. And when I had that opportunity, it gave me the chance to be at home instead of traveling, which gave me the chance then to become more involved in the community. And so that was an opportunity for me to begin to work with a lot of different nonprofits, work with some civic organizations and different things. And through those things, you know, I was able to kind of see a little bit more about what goes on in Round Rock and be able to see what a great place it is. And we've been very fortunate to be able to raise our kids here. And, you know, my feeling or my thought is, you know, everybody should give back in some way or another. Some people may choose to do it at their church. Others may do it through a civic club. They may do it at a PTA at their school, kids' school. But everybody needs to be accountable and be responsible to help the place that they live be a good place to live. And so through those things, just kind of being involved and continuing to show up, I, you know, took on different roles. I was the chair of the Chamber of Commerce. I was the president of the Rotary Club, some other things like that. And ultimately got involved with some other things and was on the bond commission in 2013 when we, that bond election ultimately passed, and that's brought us a couple of new fire stations, a police and fire training center that will be opening in August, and we just got an update on that. It's rolling right along, so that's awesome. Some new trails are coming up, and then we also are doing a new library, and so we're very excited about that, and that's taken a while to get to the library part. And a big piece of that was being able to find a location that really made sense. And so we're very fortunate to have found a location and be moving forward with that as well. So, and then after that, you know, as things were kind of moving along, I had the opportunity then to run for city council, and been very blessed to be a part of that since May of 2015. And you know, it has been an incredible, I felt like I was fairly well prepared because of a lot of things that I had done. And it just, you know, even with that, what I felt was a lot of good preparation, there's still been an incredible amount of learning. And so, you know, I'm here, you know, to tell you and to ask for your support for another opportunity to run for to represent you for another 3 years, because that time that I've spent over the last 3 years has been an incredible opportunity to learn. And so what I would want to be able to do is kind of take that experience and that leadership and that understanding of budgeting and all the different things that go into it, and be able to, you know, you really don't become effective as a council member until probably the end of your second year going into your third year, because it's just so much to learn. There's just so much that goes on. So, you know, to me, as I look back on this, I realize that really, you know, I need to do this again. I want to do it again because it's the real opportunity to accomplish things and get things done is really in your second term, because that's where you finally have become somebody who can really step in and understand a lot of the dynamics and know the players. So, you know, looking forward to hopefully have that opportunity to represent you again. In my professional life, I own a small business with 2 of my brothers. So that's been a really neat experience for me. And like I said, that's kind of what gave me the opportunity to coach baseball and be involved in some of these things, because I was able to spend some time at home. So some of the things to kind of tell you a little bit about kind of some of the things that I think are important for us as a city. You know, the first is, like I said, I'm very blessed that I get to raise my family here. And my kids love it here. My wife loves it here. She works in the library at one of the elementary schools. And so, you know, kind of just being able to maintain that place where we live, I think is probably you know, whatever that means. That may mean traffic, it may mean police, it may mean a tax rate, it may mean a lot of things, but maintaining that place where we live and continuing to push it forward and create a good place to be is the thing that kind of drives me. And it's what I look at when we're making decisions and when we're looking at things, and you know, in how we should decide or how we should handle certain situations. And I think that's one of the most important things. So but kind of under that in terms of the things that are important. Obviously, safety is a huge issue. Police and fire, we all want that. We've got a couple new fire stations. We've got a great training facility opening, so those are very important. Transportation, roads is a never-ending battle. We will, you'll never get in front of it, so you just have to do the best you can to keep up with it, because it is just a tough challenge to stay on top of, particularly in a city where we rely so heavily on I-35. And so that's one of the things we have to do, is figure out ways to not rely on 35, because there's so much of that traffic that runs through that it's not really our traffic. We're burdened with it in terms of having that traffic run through our city, but it's not necessarily people that live here going north and south. And so we've got to find other ways to be creative and work through how that traffic is managed. So traffic is a big deal. Neighborhoods, and with that, neighborhood streets. And you may or may not know, but we've over the last year or two, we've increased our budget for neighborhood streets by significant amount. We're up to about $14 to $15 million a year now that we're putting into neighborhood roads. And there is a $3.5 to $4 million project for Round Rock West that we voted on about almost a year ago, I guess, that will be, if that construction hasn't started over the next month or two, we'll be starting to basically, rehab and fix the streets within the local neighborhood. So a big part of it is, the neighborhood streets, but then also looking for new roads. And the money for the new roads, a lot of that comes through the Transportation Economic Development Corporation, which Cam kind of talked about earlier. I sit on that board as well. And so that's where we make a decision on how we spend a lot of that money. And that money comes, that's a sales tax dollar that's being generated through the sales tax vehicles that we have. And one of the things that we do, and we spend a lot of time talking about there, is how we spend that money and how we work with our partners and our regional partners. And something that I think is interesting and is important to us as a city is we have been able to put together over the last 4, 5, or 6 years almost $60 million in road projects that we have been able to use matching dollars through Campo. So our mayor sits on the Campo board, and that's one of the things that's really important is us looking out into the future and planning these projects and having them ready to go, because as they're ready, we're able to match them up with the dollars, and we're getting significantly more dollars from a share perspective than probably most people, most of the cities and most of the participants, because we're looking out into the future and are trying to make sure that we've planned for those things. And so we're able to leverage those dollars to maintain the right kind of tax structure for us. So, and I think I just have run out of time. So thank you guys for your time. I sure do appreciate it. Once again, my name is Rip Basie, and I appreciate your support and look forward to visiting with you more.
Thank you, Rick. Appreciate it. Any questions for Rick?
Yeah, one question. Recently, Cap Metro's been able to come into Round Rock and help out, and as you mentioned, relieve some of the dependence on I-35. How has that worked out, and how do you see that going forward?
So what we're in right now is kind of we're kind of in a test phase with that program. There have been some initial routes set up, and a bunch of that money, so some of that money is paid for through the city, and then a bunch of it is grant money. So that's one of the things that was important to us, was we were able to leverage some grant dollars. And what we will find is that program started late last summer. So over the next couple of months, we'll be starting to see more ridership data, so that we can then evaluate, do we continue the program? Do we expand it? One thing I can tell you is, if we continue it, and I think we probably will, but if we do continue it, what we're learning is that there will be some route changes. What we found is that some of the routes are really good, other ones need a little bit of tweaking and stuff. So initial indications are that it's headed the right direction. We definitely have some areas that are where we need to prop them up by rearranging some routes. But yeah, it's been a good program for us, and I think it's a good opportunity. We probably won't have the bus network that Austin has. We don't have the money or the people or we're not designed for that. But this is a way for us to be able to help some of that, and then also allow people. There's some express routes into Austin as well. So if you're able to move around, you get on those express routes and get back into Austin for those folks that are working there, to be able to use some of those services.
Anything else? Okay, thank you, Rick.
All right, thank y'all very much, appreciate it.
Real quick to clarify what Rick was talking about the streets, I have been on top of that, and I really expect any day now to see them start coming through. You'll see a little bit at first, them working on concrete repairs here and curb repairs here and there and so forth, but that project is underway, and so you're gonna see the street repaving thing full blown here in the next couple, 3 months. And by August, we're supposed to start the silent crossings. That's my most recent information, that everybody's finally on the same page, and so August those are supposed to start, so I'm gonna stand back here so you can't throw things at me. Okay, we have now Ellie Andrews, the other candidate for place 5.
So, my name is Ellie Andrew, and I'm running for place 5 against Mr. Basie. And I'm really going to have to find it hard to decide who I'm going to vote for, because all the candidates are just so really great. And we all have many of the same things in common that we care about Round Rock. I've been in Round Rock since 2004. My husband and I moved here so that we could be close to my mother-in-law, who was in assisted living in San Antonio. And we bought the house in Round Rock because it was close to where he worked. But as it turns out, we really love Round Rock, so we're glad the house worked out to be in the city that we've really come to love. I have always been the stay-at-home mom. We have 2 children. In November, we will be married 44 years. And 44 long years. So I was a stay-at-home mom, and I homeschooled my kids. And most of our activities have been through our church and through homeschool things. So I don't have, this would be my first political office. Actually, I didn't decide to run to be a politician. I just was thinking, I'm old, I have a lot of experience, and I think that citizens at some point, if they're able, should be involved with their local government. And so that's why I decided to do this. And I think that since I don't have the experience in city planning or any kind of government, but I have had a lot of experience with different kinds of groups, different activities, and working with different people, and thinking about things maybe outside the box, a different way or a new way. So that would be primarily my, what I would bring to the city council would just be me, and how I think, and my experiences, and all of the things that the other candidates found important, I think are important as well. I don't think any of us have any new, because we all live here, we all see the same kinds of, not always problems, but issues, things in the community that are going well, that can be encouraged to continue to go well, or things that need improvement, like traffic. There's always traffic. And so that would be my offering to City Council and to you would be to work very hard with the other City Council members and any community groups that to help Round Rock continue in its path. It's a growing city. It's grown a lot just since I've been here, and I think that's a wonderful thing for the growth. That means that people love to live here. It means the economy is good, and it's going to continue to grow, even though some kind of hate to lose a small town, but a town is only as good as the people who live in it, and I have met some wonderful people here. So in the future, when we're much larger than we are now even, y'all are all my neighbors, and I want to help it to be as good a city for you all as it is for me. So you didn't even have to put up a sign to tell me to stop talking.
Any questions for Ellie? Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, that does it for City Council. So we're going to go into the WCID. The way the WCID elections work is there's 2 open positions and 4 candidates, and it's what we call a cattle call election. The top 2 vote getters get the position. Full disclosure, I'm at the end of my second year on the board, so I do serve on that WCID board, so it is very important. People call it the who gives a crap taxes. In fact, most people spend more on Starbucks in a month than you pay in a year on your WCID taxes, but yet it's one of the most important taxes you pay because we have 23 dams. 23?
30, 31.
23.
23, yeah, 23. Working on 2 more. But you don't see these dams. They're back behind neighborhoods. They're hidden. You don't see them most of the time. Some of them you see, the big one over here at Brushy Creek. That's the thing. But they're protecting neighborhoods is what they are. So they're for protection of life and property. So this is a very, very important position, so please pay attention.
I'm Robert Adams. I had the fortune of drawing 1 for the Water Control Improvement District, so I get to tell you a little bit first. I've been in Round Rock since '91, and many of you may know me as Jared, Matthew, or Ethan's dad, or as Judy's husband, because my 3 boys have all come up through Deepwood Elementary and Chisholm Trail Middle School and Round Rock High School. And we have very much enjoyed living in Round Rock West and being part of the community here. As far as my background, I grew up with a dad that was involved in agriculture, and at the time he worked for a federal agency, and I remember as a teenager he was out getting people to sign easements for what he called flood control dams. And I didn't really know what that was, but I was kind of interested in it. And lo and behold, I went off to Texas A&M and got a bachelor's degree in agricultural engineering, and I ended up going to work for the same agency, and early in my career, I was involved with flood control dams and other farm and ranch engineering projects. And, but after about 3 years with that agency, my interests took a little different turn in terms of water issues. I began to see the competition between municipal and ag interests for water, so I went back to school and got a master's and doctor of engineering degree, and I've been in the consulting engineering business since then, more focused on water resources, development of water supplies and treatment of water and water quality and those kinds of issues. But I've always had this sort of background knowledge and experience with the dams from early in my career. Well, being here in the neighborhood, I bought a house that is on the creek back here, okay? And when I first bought it, it wasn't in the floodplain, and then it was in the floodplain, and then it wasn't in the floodplain, and now it's back in the floodplain again. So it's interesting to see how those things change over time. But all of that is affected partially by these flood control dams that we have protecting us in the county. And so I had the opportunity in 2016, there was an unexpired term on the board at the district, and I knew a couple of the folks at the district, and they contacted me and said, we think you should maybe look at serving this unexpired term. So I came and I talked to them, they selected me, and I've been serving for the last 2.5 years or so in an unexpired term on the board. And so this is my first time to come up for election to the board. And I can tell you that it's been very rewarding for me to serve on the board, to feel like I'm giving something back to the community, to participate with something that I have direct knowledge of, to understand how these flood control structures work. There are 23 dams that stretch from Cedar Park to Hutto. And you think, well, what could be the issue with these dams? Well, these dams were all built 50 years ago. They were all built to protect ag land from flooding, to keep from destroying cotton crops and things of that nature. And they were yet justified even when they were protecting cotton crops. So how much more justified are they when they're protecting homes and lives? Well, They went from being low hazard dams as categorized by the state to the point now all 23 of them are considered high hazard dams. And over the years, the district, fortunately, the citizens voted in a tax and has allowed the district to go in and address upgrading each of those structures to achieve the high hazard criteria. It's a higher level of protection. There are a few more yet to be done, and that's the most important thing that we have ahead of us. We have Dam 8 that we're just finishing up Dam 7, and I don't know if any of you have been over there, but it is a big project. It's got a serpentine concrete weir. It's on the hike and bike trail, and if you get a chance to go over to the hike and bike trail and take a look at it, it was a significant project. Not all of our projects are that big, but some of our dams, Dam 8 still needs to be done, 10A and 10B. I was going to ask you, how many people know where Dam 23 is? Because there's not a Dam 23. Okay, it was going to be a trick question. There's dams 10A and 10B, and it counts up to 22 over in Hutto is where the Dam 22 is located. But 10A and 10B are out here at Texas Crushed Stone. Well, we have Dam 8 and 2 more dams, 10A and 10B, that need some additional work on them. So those are the last dams to sort of bring up to the current standard, and that's an important part of what the district has to do. We need to do it cost effectively. We need to do it in conjunction, working with all the agencies and participants in the area. And then most recently, we've had the opportunity to talk about dams 101 and 102, which would be protecting residents downstream on Lake Creek here in this area, some of the flooding from the storms that have happened the last few years. And so if we partner with the city of Round Rock, we'll be able to implement those. But one of the real important things that we need to do as a district is to successfully partner with all of the cities in the southern half of Williamson County. And there may be other projects like that. We're not looking for more projects to do, frankly, because our budget's not that big. And when we have dams like Dam 22 that had a slide on the base of the dam, and we have to go out and repair it, and we have to figure out, well, what do we need to do? Does that dam need to have earth added to it to make it a little bit taller or whatever? That's an expenditure, and those kinds of things can happen at any time. So we have to be prepared for those kinds of emergencies. So there are a lot of responsibilities that the district has for using the existing funds and trying to use them effectively while we're still completing a few major projects. And so that's what I would like to do, is to see us continue forward on that path, cost effectively, completing the projects that we have to complete, and making really good use, being good stewards of the dollars that we collect from the citizens in Williamson County.
Any questions for Robert?
Yes, sir. Mr.
Yeah, Robert, did you do any maintenance in the waterway, or just focus just the dams?
Our focus is the dams. We do not do, we have not really had the funds, but we have not done projects on the channels to improve conveyance capacity. That's generally more the purview of the city drainage departments.
Well, I was thinking about outside the city.
But outside the city, yeah, we have not done that.
Excuse me. I wonder who's dealing with the caves that are being discovered, like the one off of 620?
Well, that's
not good.
That's boy. I'm glad I was standing up here.
I'm glad too.
That's primarily TCQ is addressing the caves, and if you followed it in the paper, you know that the environmental agency is doing its part to investigate, evaluate that, and to see what the repair methods will be. So fortunately, I've worked with the TCQ a lot, and I know those people, and so I know that they're doing a good job on that project, trying to assess how it can be solved.
Is there a map of known caves around the area?
Well, and you ask a really good question, because there are maps of known caves, and there are caving groups that are out always looking for additional caves, but the one in the neighborhood that was recently discovered was an unknown cave. It wasn't known to be there, and those kinds of things, it's surprising that there's still as many places as they could be, but they're still out there.
Are there any known ones in Round Rock West?
I don't think so. I think the majority of Round Rock West.
Are you talking about
if
it?
there are any
Homes and
caves,
stuff
they would
right
be
now?
known. Yeah.
None, and likely not. We're built on a quarry.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So most of it has already been kind of mined in this area.
It's up under Charlie's house. There might be one under Charlie's house.
Yeah. No, but there is one in Robinson Ranch property just
Yeah.
past.
That's the issue when we deal with building roads and stuff, like when they built the O'Connor extension, so forth. They had so many hoops to jump through because of caves and environmental issues, so.
Of course, McNeil High School's built around a cave.
Yes. Anything else for Robert? Okay, our next candidate is Jeff Sawyer. Jeff is the current incumbent. He is currently the president of our board right now.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you each for being here. I've learned a lot, especially from the city council candidates, and I think it's wonderful when a neighborhood decides to learn the issues before voting. And I think back on when I moved here in 1992, we had decided that the Round Rock School District was where we wanted to settle because of its known for academic excellence. And when we started to scout around the area, we almost were a resident along with you in Round Rock West. But it's always been known as a well-established and neighborly area. And I remember, though, as the 5 members of our family graduated from the high school, so we have 5 ex-Dragons in our family. And so I got to spend quite a bit of time driving down Deepwood Drive and other areas as we came and returned from our different activities. But one thing that stuck in my mind a few years ago, after the tropical storm Hermine dropped an immense amount of rain in a short period of time, and as work crews gathered, as we tried to help you who had been affected by that flood, and as Lake Creek had brought things downstream, that I noticed that we had storage sheds that might have been, used to be in someone else's yard and was now in your yard, and the water had come up a lot higher than it had ever been before, even getting inside homes. And so as we had the opportunity to help clean up yards and even to take out some drywall and help out as we could, it wasn't just the thought that, gosh, I'm glad I live in a little higher grounds, a little north of Lake Creek. But I also thought, well, maybe there's something that could be done about this. And soon after that, like Robert's experience, I had an opportunity to fill a position that was open on the board in 2012. And so that was a good time for me to get involved, to learn more about the hydrology of the area, about the topology and what happens when it rains, as it does. Rains hard here in Central Texas, and as we become kind of a flash flood alley. So after that experience, it was wonderful for me to get involved with other directors such as Robert, who really knows a lot about dam safety and about construction, to get involved with Mike, who knows a lot about the area, and other board members. We have an excellent legal counsel that we can rely on, as well as excellent staff. And as we think about what is our mission for the district, I just want to reiterate that the main thing is to provide safety from extreme rain events. And so, as was mentioned earlier, we have 23 structures that were built quite a few years ago, most of them in the 50s and 60s. And so as the face of the land has changed, mostly agricultural back then, and now we have neighborhoods, we have roads, we have shopping malls. The rain does different things now than it did back in those days. So we had to make accommodations for that. We had to modernize these dams, and one of the biggest projects you'll see today is the one near Palmer and Brushy Creek Road. That one I'm also reminded of another responsibility of the Upper Brushy Creek WCID, and that is to keep the recreation areas available, because a lot of people go there to fish, to kayak. I had one Cub Scout ask me the other day, he said, "Mr. Sawyer, when is that trail going to be open over the dam so I can continue to ride like I used to?" And so I had to, well, at least I could tell them that it'll be soon. So in about a month, we're going to do a ribbon cutting on that modernization of Dam 7, and we'll open the trail in conjunction with Williamson County. One of the other things that's been very interesting to watch is the interaction between the other entities. Between Williamson County, that has maintained that trail, and they've helped us with some of the funding to reroute the trail while it's been inaccessible during the construction phase. And it's been great to partner with the other cities, Leander, Cedar Park, Round Rock, of course, the city of Hutto, a little bit of Austin and Georgetown as you look at our district map. So we probably the main thing is safety. We also maintain and modernize, as I mentioned. We work closely with the other government entities. I'm not by, just tell you a little bit about myself, I'm not by nature, well, I am by nature a curious individual. My wife is here and she'll tell you that I definitely am curious from time to time. Maybe in some of my habits around the house, but she supports me in this effort as I've served on the board now for about 7 years. And I've gotten to know many of you in the community. I've gotten to know how important it is that we keep the public safe, we keep your property safe. And as the project has come to us that we're able to partner with the city of Round Rock for a new dam to protect Lake Creek, I would say that is our #1 priority. And we're currently in the 30% design phase of that project, and as we go forward, I'm certainly committed to make sure that it all works, and that the next time we get a lot of rain, that we won't have things coming down Lake Creek and getting into your homes as has happened in the past. That being said, it's not an easy process. There's a lot of moving pieces. It's a little bit like a chessboard with multiple players. And so there's landowners involved, there's cities involved that are closely watching the budget. And, but I think we have a pretty good handle on what we need to do. And with your support, I'd like to continue to stay on the council, or on the district as a director, and to make sure that that dam and other structures that need to be done are taken care of. I think if I were to summarize what we need to do going forward, again, safety is the #1 issue. We have emergency action plans for all of our dams. We work closely with the county and the other city organizations so that if there is a rain event where it looks like some type of flooding event is going to occur, we have clear line of communication that's available. We have the emergency action plans in place. We also have floodplain studies. I think it's important to understand our watershed, and we spent quite a bit of money in consulting time and effort in developing models so that we know when it rains, where does the rain go and where do we need to tweak the drainage areas. And we recently provided that information to FEMA, and that might be one of the reasons why Robert's house was in the floodplain and out of the floodplain, and maybe hopefully stay out of it for some time. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I invite you to visit my Facebook page, Re-elect Jeff Sawyer to Water District. And if you want to learn more about the Upper Brushy Creek WCID in general, we have a wonderful webpage there too, upperbrushycreekwcid.org.
Okay, any questions for Jeff? Nothing at all? Okay. Casey, you're up next. Casey Clausen, again, is one of the candidates running for one of the positions on the board.
Well, I'd just like to add the thanks for the opportunity to sit and speak. For you guys, you'll have to excuse my voice. The last 3 weeks I've been fighting all the allergies that have been going through, and I got a frog in my throat that I can't seem to get out. So we'll start with myself. I've lived in Williamson County for 48 years. I've been here all my life. I grew up in Cedar Park. I have been in Cedar Park, Leander, Round Rock area all my life. My father was part of the development when Tockawa Springs was going in. I can remember as a kid when the floods would come and the low water bridge right there at Prussia Creek would flood, and you'd have to go all the way back around, down 2243 and come in the back way if you wanted to get any place around Round Rock. So I've seen where, the cities have grown, what's happened, what water's done, and I understand the complexity of what water does and what needs to be done to contain it. Water itself, like I said, the key is to retain the water and to control the runoff. Where my experience comes in is I've been in the commercial industry for well over 20 years. I've been a part of developments where we have installed dams, whether it be retainage dams or whether it be filtration dams for projects anywhere from 5 to 200 acres. So I've been a part of major construction where dams are involved and the construction and the process of that. So what I bring to the table is understanding the complexities of what it takes to get things done. You guys are concerned about your property in this area, but you have to understand this is a Williamson County deal. There's a lot of other factors that go into play here other than just what Dam 101 is going to do for Round Rock West, which the biggest thing about Dam 101 is getting the funding. We're very low taxing. We try to keep our taxes low. We want to keep WCID taxes low, but you still have to fund. So how do you find the mechanisms to go fund these dams? I'm ready to go do something. I'm not ready to sit down and talk about it for the last 10 years, where we sit down and look at the construction costs. 10 years ago it was 10, well now it's 20. Well, how much longer is it going to take before we wait to where it becomes 30, 40 million dollars to build these dams? We need results now. We need to kind of get things rolling now. As the candidates have all said, safety is definitely the concern. That's, safety for your people, safety for your property. Again, the background that I have in the construction industry brings to the table the knowledge and the experience to sit down and look at, are the timelines good? Are the budgets good? Is the construction of the dam, does it meet the requirements? We have engineers, we have people on staff on the WCID, they're going to look at that. But we need to look at it from an aspect of constructability, timelines, budgets. So I'm not going to sit up here and burden y'all with my life. I mean, I grew up Cedar Park. I've lived this area. I've lived in Round Rock. I've lived in Leander all my life. I've seen all these areas that have flooded over time. So why am I running? Again, because I think I can bring something to the table that is a necessity for the WSCAD to be successful, both in money, both in production, to get things done. I'm a doer. I'm not a guy that's going to sit there and try to talk about it for forever and ever. Let's come up with a plan. Let's work our plan. Let's put our plan to action. Because y'all want results. Period. That's what it amounts to. You want results. That's what I want to give you. That's why I'm running. That's it in a nutshell. My name is Casey Clausen, and that's why I'm running for WCID.
Any questions for Casey?
I do. You said you're a commercial industry construction person. What do you construct?
I have built everything from 240-foot skyscrapers to churches to car dealerships, any type of commercial hospitals. I was part of probably my biggest project that dealt with water retention was the Katy Mills Mall in Katy. Huge retention, earth and structure with outfall structures that led to a bayou that had all kinds of city things that you had to go through. So I can't think of the type of construction I haven't done, to be honest with you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So have you got engineering, construction engineering background?
My degree is in construction science. I graduated from A&M Commerce, at the time was East Texas State. But basically the degree I have is a range of all fields. I have a structure background, I have engineering background, soils, mechanics, all of that entails that you have to look at. It's not just one piece of the pie, it's the whole pie. It's understanding all the pieces that come together and how do you put it together in a timely manner with money that you've got, and then finding out some way to get it funded is the key. That's the key right now. We got to figure out some way to get these dams funded. And we can't issue debt. WCD can't. I keep saying we. We can't issue debt except go for a bond. So how do we do it? We've got, like everybody said, we've got to employ the city. We've got to employ the county. We've got to go after the state. We've got to figure out these mechanisms, kind of like what Cedar Park is doing. Proposition A, what they're doing with their tax base. Great idea, great mechanism. Let's go figure out some way to get these things funded.
Anything else? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. Thank you for having this candidates forum and giving us the opportunity to talk about ourselves. My name is Kathy Cook, and I've lived in Cedar Park since 2006. I lived in Austin prior to moving to Cedar Park. And when I bought my house, I asked things like, how much is it? Where am I going to put my furniture? Oh, I love this 2-car garage. It was a beautiful home. I bought the home. A year later, we had our first heavy rain and my house almost flooded. I watched the water rush across my front yard. I watched it rise to my doorstep. And I thought, what's going on with this? So a few more rainfalls later, a few more sleepless nights listening to the rain, I'm realizing I had a problem. I went to the city of Cedar Park to talk about the issue at my home, and the city said, your builder built it, and you bought it. I didn't think that I was buying a problem with my home. I'm thinking, the house is built. Obviously, the builder had to have permits and whatever other paperwork they needed to build a house. It must be safe. Well, it wasn't. So, since 2007, I have been watching my yard get washed away. I can't get out of my driveway for the rain. I was on vacation in Florida. My teenage son sent me a text that said, house is about to flood. And I've spent a long time worrying about the rain. In May of 2016, I met with the mayor of Cedar Park, and I offered to do a cost-sharing project to fix my drainage. And I said, no, we can't do that. But he said, Kathy, you need to start going to the city council meetings and talking to the council. I said, okay. So I've been to almost every city council meeting since June of 2016. They meet on the second and the fourth Thursdays. Along about that same time, I found out about the WCID. At that time, they were looking at the hazard mitigation plan and had a couple of citizen forums, and I attended those, and I began attending the WCID meetings on the third Thursday of every month. Now, I can't say I've been to everyone, but I've been to a lot of them. In the meantime, I paired up with another resident from Cedar Park who had also experienced severe flooding. And we were diligent in attending city council meetings. We would either get up and speak at citizens communication, we would fill out the little card. Everybody knew who we were. We worked to get Prop A on the ballot for May 5th. And what Prop A is going to do is divert 1/8 of a cent from sales tax to a dedicated drainage fund. So I'm now part of a political action committee to educate the voters in Cedar Park about Prop A. If passed, it will create a funding mechanism to help address flooding issues in Cedar Park. We hope that once Cedar Park has this funding mechanism, it could pair or partner with other organizations like the WCID to work on some of these drainage issues. There's a lot of people in Cedar Park in my position who bought a house and you don't ask those kind of questions. And I've heard people say things like, well, that's your fault for buying it. You should have asked. I think it's important to listen to those people and to help them. I think it is scary to go in front of the Cedar Park City Council or any city council and to speak about your problem. And I want to help support those people and be that voice for those people who are in a dangerous situation or who are experiencing flooding. I live in Cedar Park, but I'm concerned about everybody in the district. I would like to work with all of the communities of interest to take a proactive approach to dam safety and solving problems to the regional flooding. I want to help people. That's what I do. I'm a registered nurse. I've worked in the operating room for 25 years. It's an honor and a privilege to me to be able to take care of people at their most vulnerable time. I can listen to people. I can make critical decisions based on the facts and the resources at hand. I have training and experience doing that. I can make decisions based on risk versus benefit, and I can work well under pressure, mostly when people are bleeding. As a director on the WCID Board of Directors, I would like to do all that I can to make sure that people, pets, and property are safe. You can find me on Facebook, Kathy Cook for Upper Brushy Creek WCID. Thank you.
Any further questions for Kathy? Okay, well, thank you very much. Okay, a couple of things before we just split up here tonight. You've heard us talking about Dam 7 over at where Parmer and the lake is over there, Parmer and Brushy Creek. You gotta go see this thing. It's just amazing. And before I ended up on the board, I got on the board and I felt stupid because of learning everything that I'm learning, you know. But it's some amazing stuff that goes on, and just if you go look at that dam, you'll see the kind of projects that are being done to make people safe. So this is a very important election, so please vote. And I'm just touching base on some things that were said tonight. The 2013 Bond Commission that a couple of them talked about. I was fortunate enough, Mayor McGraw chose me to chair that commission. And that was a blessing for me because I learned a lot more about the city of Round Rock, and we were able to put through some really incredible projects. And I've gotten the opportunity to see the 2 new fire stations that were built, and we're about to see the new training facility. I've gotten an early tour of that facility under construction, and it's out behind the police department. And this is a full-scale fire and police training. They can train for terror events and all kinds of things they can do out there. It's going to be really amazing.
The improvement of Sutter's Park was on that line.
Yes, I mean, there were a lot of other things, parks, the whole works. There's just a ton of things that were on that bond election that are in the process of. And since then, of course, they've talked about the library.
Where's the library going to be?
Where's the library going to be? Which property do they choose?
So do you know where,
Down off there.
off of Mays, where they used to have there was a kind of a trial deal with some of the food trucks?
Oh, yeah.
So that piece of property, the city owns that.
Tex Sandwiches, where Tex Sandwich
Yeah, where
was.
Tex Sandwich was before that, yeah, so right there, the nice thing about it is that it will be, there's some, as part of the bond, there's also some work being done on a lot of the trails along Brushy Creek.
Right.
And so we'll be able to have some trailheads that come up in, and the trail's gonna head back to the east toward Hutto, and then ultimately we'll connect to the trails on Brushy Creek. They go all the way out to the YMCA out off of 183, and so we'll have connectivity in there. So there's some land right there, and working on a few more things to kind of add a little bit more, but that's where it'll be, so.
Okay.
And
And
we've got an architect underway already doing the design on it, so.
so that's some exciting stuff happening in the city of Round Rock. Our next meeting, Alvin Langford from the Appraisal District is gonna be here. Y'all are about to get those fun little pieces of paper in the mail that you get. And they're all gonna tell you that your property values have gone up, because I'm afraid to break the news to you, they have. You know, Matt, this vice been around real estate can tell you, values have gone up, sale prices have gone up, houses in this neighborhood are still going up, which affects your values. That doesn't mean that that piece of paper you're gonna get is gonna be correct. So Alvin will be here to talk about it. And those of you that know real estate agents can contact one of them to help you try to verify that valuation, maybe save you some tax money. And last but not least, and I joke about this at every meeting, that being the president, you know, is a sentence and so forth. In October of every year, the opportunity for other officers to step forward and run is here. Nobody has. But what I can tell you is I have never been blessed more by what I do with this neighborhood. I love what I do with this neighborhood. I joke about it, but I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything. It has been the most incredible experience of my life to be able to do what I do in this neighborhood. So just so you all know, I love it. So if I joke about not loving it, that's not true. I do. So thank you guys all for coming, and we'll see you next month.